Hello there, friends. Welcome back to another episode of Generation Tech. My name is Alan. In one of our recent videos, one of our commenters, Dolan Dark, commented the following. Day one of asking Generation Tech to discuss which is the most comfortable and practical chair in the Jedi Council chambers.
To which I respond, Dolan Dark, this is a serious Star Wars YouTube channel. It is the largest Star Wars YouTube channel in the world that's based in the United States, on the East Coast of the United States, with an Asian presenter who doesn't believe in pants. And so if you thought I'd do a video about something as stupid as this, well, you're absolutely right. Because look, guys, proper lumbar support is to good leadership as long pants dress code is to fascism. Without a good chair to sit in, how can one properly function, let alone do their very difficult job? In the Jedi High Council's case, that's leading a pseudo-pacifist religious organization that gets to be the judge, juror, and limb cutter offer for the Republic. Those are some pretty big robes to fill. The Jedi Order, because of their very strange relationship with the Republic, aka endless amounts of power paired with very little checks and balances or accountability, depends heavily on its internal power structure to keep its members aligned with the light side. Some might see the Jedi Order's unchecked power as a blessing, but in my opinion, one is cursed when they aren't being constantly checked and constantly challenged. I had an Asian mother. Not everyone is as lucky as I was, and honestly, we all do need a swift kick to the nuts or ovaries every now and then to keep us on the straight and narrow. Without such reminders that we are not, immortal gods and perfect people, very bad things can happen. It can lead to some severe personality issues and just horrible behavior. And when you're essentially a bunch of highly misunderstood warlocks and witches equipped with magic and lethal glow rods, that can lead to giant mobs with pitchforks forming outside of your school for very gifted Jedi younglings. And so let's take a look at which one of these chairs were the most practical and comfortable in the High Jedi Council. To understand comfort when it comes to a Jedi Council chair, we must understand how one builds a comfortable chair. It's an art form as much as it is a science. There are the physical aspects of what makes a chair comfortable. The materials one uses, the height of the seat, the height of the backrest, headrest or no headrest. Does it recline or does it not recline? Does it have heated or cooled surfaces? And of course, does it have a massage mode? Because we all love that. But then there's the more esoteric side of designing a chair, forming that human connection with the seat that can only come through some serious ego death and sacrifice in life experience.
5 different types of chairs in this hotel room.
Holy fuck, what are they all doing in here?
These are 5 different types of chairs.
Look at this one. Look at it. It's gold and red and it's kind of shiny thread. Unbelievable. It is beautiful and it feels amazing.
Couldn't have said it any better myself. And as we see, some of the most uncomfortable chairs in the Jedi Council belong to masters who not only didn't fit in their chairs from an ergonomic point of view, but also from a spiritual point of view.
The tall one's gawking at me, and the short one's being very droll. I don't like them.
Take Anakin Skywalker, for instance. From day one, his journey to the Jedi High Council was a rough one. He did not go through the standard procedure of being voted in by his peers. He instead was a political appointee by the Supreme Chancellor himself. An unprecedented act that meant that Anakin did not go through the most important part of joining the High Council, which of course was being selected by the rest of his peers and then getting measured so that a custom chair could be built and made very comfortable for him. So what I really mean is Anakin Skywalker was a Jedi sitting in a chair that was not specifically designed for him. Everyone else had customized chairs, and I don't mean this in a metaphoric or, symbolic way. I literally mean his chair was not designed for him. On top of that, Anakin Skywalker did not have the experience to sit in such an uncomfortable chair for long durations, as he had not been granted the rank of Master by the rest of the Council. A very unprecedented move, and unfortunately for him, with the death of the Jedi Council during Order 66, or at least most of them. Even to his dying day, he was never granted the title of Master, and therefore he sat uncomfortably until his dying breath, which is the true tragedy of Star Wars. The lesson here is it matters where we sit in life. It matters what we sit on and how we sit. And although some seats look comfy and we might look up at them with envious gaze, oftentimes we are not ready, either spiritually or intellectually, for those lofty perches.
I'm up high.
I'm talking about seats that we do not deserve to sit in, and should we, through haste and impatience, sit in those seats, we must also suffer the consequences that comes with such rushed action. And throughout history, there have been many who have sat on the Jedi High Council in one of those custom-designed seats, and the inhabitants of those seats have been of varying quality. Some rose up to the challenges of the position, while others performed as expected, but many others were quite disappointing. They weren't ready for the chair and the position, and especially in the last year of the Order and the Republic, those individuals outnumbered the competent ones. Interestingly enough, there are also many complacent Jedi Masters on the High Council who also happen to be quite comfortable in the positions that they were in. A correlation, perhaps, that makes me wonder if all of these seats always need to be filled in, or should these couches be left empty until someone is deserving of that position.
It's weird that chairs even exist when you're not sitting on them.
So, which Jedi Masters in the High Council actually have the most comfortable chairs? Well, let's count off my top 5. Jedi Master Even Piell doesn't stand much higher than Grandmaster Yoda. His seat is therefore one of the smaller ones in the High Council chamber. It's round like a pocket, and still it swallowed the Jedi Master up, leaving his legs dangling above the floor like a child. This runs counter to Even Piell's more ferocious appearance, with that tuft of hair bound like a warrior atop of his head, and that gruesome scar over his eye, a sign of his dangerous occupation. Even Piell was a member of the warlike Atlantic species, and this home planet that he came from was constantly at war, turmoil, political unrest. It was simply a horrible place, yet he seemed to really reject the culture and the vibes of his people. Even Piell was found by the Jedi Order at a much older age than most Jedi initiates, and that's perhaps what made him very different from the Jedi, and similar to a Jedi like Anakin. As in, he had baggage. He had learned behavior and worldviews that sort of already shaped him into the person he would become. But in truth, Even Piell was always a very unexpected individual with a lot of unexpected traits. He was a terrific warrior and a swordsman who served with distinction during the Clone Wars conflict, and at the same time, he was known for his deep empathy and understanding of all those around him. From the civilians that the Jedi Order pledged to serve to more difficult individuals like, surprisingly, Captain Wilhelm Tarkin, an individual who famously hated the Jedi. Somehow Even Piell was able to develop a good working relationship and mutual respect with the good captain, most likely because Even Piell was just very competent as a warrior. It's said by many that Even Piell was perhaps more in tune with the living force than most of the other High Council members. In this way, he's sort of a lot like Qui-Gon Jinn. Even Piell saw all individuals as his kin, but was specifically interested in advocating for the younger generations and programs that can help them, especially young boys and girls that were at risk of running into trouble or falling into the criminal underground. During the Jedi Order's mission to bring stability to the world of Quen, Even Piell would commandeer an autobus, find a bunch of children on the street who no longer had a school to go to, and he basically teach them the humanities by also, creating kind of activities that would help make the city more beautiful by using these children as labor and teaching them at the same time. And so, as you can see, whether it was on the battlefield or some more socially oriented mission, Even Piell always felt comfortable. As a matter of fact, the diminutive Jedi Master with a fearsome mug loved people. Even Piell loved learning about other people's lives, making acquaintances and friendships. As a matter of fact, the only thing that really bothered him was the fact that a lot of people seemed to be scared of him. He didn't understand why. And so, while Even Piell might look a bit stiff and uncomfortable in his council chair, be assured that is far from the case. It is a great position for him, one that he's very comfortable in. Mace Windu's chair is far more substantial than many of the other thrones in the Jedi High Council chambers. It features a large, wide backrest with 2 solid and very high arms rests. An epic chair like this would engulf most human beings. Mace Windu always appeared to fill it up and was either very relaxed and comfortable in the chair as if he were lounging, or at the edge of his seat as if he were watching an epic holofilm. And I guess that describes Mace Windu to a T. A person who was quite relaxed, at least outwardly, because of his steadfast focus and devotion to the Force and the Jedi Order. Never one to hesitate in his older years, Mace Windu faced a lot of challenges as a younger Jedi. As a matter of fact, his own master, Cillian Mir, said the following about him. "A fire burns inside you, Padawan. That in itself is not inherently wrong. It is my job to help you temper it. This is why I choose you to accompany me on this mission. I do so enjoy a challenge." Mace Windu would become one of the most skilled Jedi in the entire order, and one of the best swordsmen as well. His decision-making was quick and oftentimes on point. As a result, he would be appointed a member of the High Jedi Council at a relatively young age, bypassing his peer Dooku, after the death of Master Katri when she was murdered on Raxus and Gundus. Mace Windu's assertiveness was also his downfall ultimately. He was so used to making choices quickly and without hesitation that when the Jedi entered a no-win situation like the Clone Wars, Mace Windu just dived in headfirst and was constantly taking sides in a no-win situation. And so while he was ultimately very comfortable in his armrest-equipped sofa chair, he failed to realize that the Jedi Order he loved and cherished was burning down all around him, and unfortunately he was a major part of its downfall. Ki-Adi-Mundi's chair was almost identical to Mace Windu's, and one could say that the Syrian Jedi Master garnered the same amount of respect and admiration within the Jedi Order as his colleague. I guess the Jedi are comforted by the fact that Ki-Adi-Mundi had 2 brains and 2 hearts, which should mean twice the intelligence and twice the compassion, right? Well, that couldn't be further from the truth. It's not that Ki-Adi-Mundi wasn't smart or didn't try to uphold the Jedi Order's ideals about right and wrong. It was just that he was perhaps one of the most out-of-touch Jedi in the entire Order. This was a personality thing more than anything. Whilst on that mission that even Piell was, trying to stabilize the world of Quen, Ki-Adi-Mundi ends up buying a snow cone from a vendor, and let me just read you this interaction. It's hilarious. One tasty common ice mound. The frozen treat vendor in the harbor market on Langdon Key looked up from his trolley at Ki-Adi-Mundi. What flavor ice mound will that be, sir? Ice. Ice? Yes, I said this, Ki-Adi-Mundi replied. An ice mound. The Jedi Master knew of even Piell's occasional problems and being understood. He had no such issues. His diction was flawless. Here on Quen, or anywhere else, if a person understood Galactic Basic, they understood the Syrian Jedi. The operator of the Tasty Comet cart was still having problems, however. You just want ice, no flavoring. Ice is a flavor, if you say so. The vendor sighed and scooped a mound of ice crystals from his hover cart into a conical container. He handed it to the Jedi. That will be... He paused. Is something the matter? The vendor scratched his head. We charge by the flavor. There isn't a price for ice. Ki-Adi-Mundi looked at the signage on the cart. That is an oversight. One you should probably correct. He placed a credit in the vendor's hand anyway, towards making a new sign. The Jedi Master strode away from the vendor, feeling good about having helped someone. He didn't understand what Qui-Gon Jinn was always on about. Members of the council were helpful wherever they went. Now, look, Ki-Adi-Mundi isn't running around stabbing people in the face because they're bothering him or slowing him down. But he just doesn't really understand normal people or how they function. He's the complete opposite of even Piell and Qui-Gon Jinn. Ki-Adi-Mundi clearly lacks empathy, and so his decisions are so uninformed and wild and out of pocket because of that. Ki-Adi-Mundi also was quite arrogant and believed that the Jedi were extremely important, and so as the Jedi Order was crumbling all around him, Mundi was just focused on the good work he was doing on the front lines, in the Outer Rim siege. He was so blind to the people around him. It was a complete shock for him when his own clone troopers, the Galactic Marines under Commander Bakara, turned their weapons on him and gunned him down without hesitation or remorse. When you're blind to everything that's going around you, when you're not, burdened by empathy, it can make you quite comfortable in your Jedi Council Chair. Obi-Wan Kenobi sits in a very similar chair to his human counterparts like Mace Windu. But take a look at the armrest and you'll see a more elegant and refined design for a more cultured age. Obi-Wan Kenobi's couch seems to have thinner armrests that leave more room for the individual sitting on the couch. More lateral flexibility, if you will. Obi-Wan Kenobi wasn't always the most comfortable Jedi in the Order. As a youngling, he struggled with following the rules. He was independent and rebellious and into speeders, stuff like that, sort of like his future Padawan Anakin Skywalker. Master Yoda saw a lot of potential in Obi-Wan Kenobi, and in a brilliant move paired him with one of the most unorthodox and also accidentally rebellious Jedi Masters in Qui-Gon Jinn. I say accidentally because Qui-Gon Jinn is not really a contrarian. He's not a hipster. He doesn't, seek to be different because of some childhood trauma or just wanting attention. He is just different. That is who he is naturally as a person. And when Obi-Wan was paired by Qui-Gon Jinn, his master's rejection of authority and the norms really made Obi-Wan Kenobi become more aware of why having structure and a code is important. Obi-Wan Kenobi found balance and made it look easy as a Jedi Master, even though there was nothing easy with walking away from love.
A life without love, that's terrible.
No, being on the street, that's terrible.
No, love is like oxygen.
What?
There's nothing easy about watching your master die before you and then having to fight the first Sith Lord the Jedi Order had encountered in 100 years. There's also nothing easy about promising that same dying master that you'll train the Chosen One, a powerful individual who's supposed to bring peace and balance to the galaxy. And finally, there's nothing easy about training a boy who is stronger and more powerful than you and feeling inadequate the entire time. Perhaps it's because Obi-Wan Kenobi went through so much at such a young age that he developed kind of a really calm baseline, a patience, a discipline that is simply unrivaled in the Jedi Order. This is what allowed him to bend and be flexible and adjust to the most difficult situations he faced during the Clone Wars and beyond. He was never the most powerful Force user, not the most skilled combatant or wisest philosopher in the Force, but Obi-Wan Kenobi always maintained a certain level headedness and clarity that allowed him to outlast his opponents no matter what. Whether it was using Form 3 shell defense techniques to patiently wear down enemy duelists until he found the high ground, or sitting in the desert for a decade waiting for the Jedi's last hope to strike back against the Sith. Obi-Wan Kenobi was always very comfortable with sitting and waiting and relaxing, and that's perhaps why his chair is the widest in a lot of ways compared to his body size, and that is why he is so comfortable in the Jedi Council chambers. Grandmaster Yoda is the smallest and also oldest member of the Jedi Council. He's been around for many centuries, close to 1,000 years, and it's not surprising that he looks extremely comfortable in his chair, like a corgi curled up in a beanbag, almost. Yoda has seen everything, and anything one can throw at a Jedi, through the Force and in the physical realm. He's the type of individual who has boundless wisdom and always is able to say the right thing to you when you need to hear it the most. Yoda's view on life is much longer than your average Jedi, and most individuals' entire lifespan is but a small chapter in his own life. And I think sadly over the years, Yoda's focus on the longer and larger picture made him out of touch with the current realities of the Jedi Order and their Republic masters and the threats that they actually faced. I think also all the crazy stuff he's seen over the years, the so-called wisdom that he gathered, made him quite conservative and unable to adjust to new threats as they appeared. He seemed to always be more worried about Jedi falling to the dark side from within his organization. And this is why Yoda's Jedi Order is one of the strictest and most rule-following versions of the Order. And more importantly, Yoda was old. I mean, the years had taken a huge toll on him. It made him not only just complacent, but also probably too tired to carry on the type of leadership the Jedi Order needed during the Clone Wars. You have down-tier political pundits talk about how there needs to be a passing of the torch from the older generations to the newer generations. In the United States, we have ridiculously old, individuals in the Senate running for president, and that kind of sucks. Ideally, the younger generations, or even just the middle-aged generation, could take over and try to chart the course for our future. While Yoda was wise and served as a great custodian of the Jedi's legacy and past, he did not necessarily prepare the Order for the challenges that they faced ahead, and so when the Jedi Order found themselves in the middle of the Clone War, the Jedi were completely unprepared to lead forces into battle to deal with the consequences of war and sending men to die. Many of these children that Yoda had sent into battle did not have the mental or emotional maturity that is needed to survive such a chaotic life. And because of that, the Jedi Order fought harder and harder into a trap until they truly had nowhere to go. All because Yoda became too comfortable in his little chair. So there you have it, guys. 5 individuals in the Jedi Council that were very comfortable in their chairs. One could argue that their chairs were the most comfortable in the entire history of the Jedi Order, and that comfort led to a variety of different outcomes in how they behaved and how they acted, and the Jedi Order finally was ended. Well, I hope you enjoyed today's video. Don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification button down below so you don't miss out on the rest of our awesome content. As usual, I always look forward to hearing about your stupid video ideas. The dumber, the funnier, the better, oftentimes. And as usual, my name is Alan, reminding you that my allegiance is to the Republic, to democracy. I'll see you next time.